name is Maurice Washington. I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Executive Talk. Those who are watching live and those who are listening later on our podcast, thank you so much for being here. Today's topic is because you're not planning for the unexpected. What does that mean to you in the financial perspective of your life? With me today is I have Kerri Farren with Summit Global Private Wealth to talk to us about what that looks like as far as financial planning and some of the scenarios that she's seen over time as people are not planning for the unexpected. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Kerri to the stage. How you doing today, Kerri?
I'm doing wonderful on this bright, sunny day. And yourself?
It's very bright and very sunny, isn't it?
Yeah.
For everybody watching, we're in Colorado, so it's just extremely hot. I think you are probably, dealing with some of the temperature as well. But nonetheless, just fast forwarding to today, Kerri, just to kind of touch base on where you are, time and space in the year. What have you seen over this year? What is the financial health of society, people, and some of the things that you witnessed out there?
Yeah, so when I sat back and thought about this for a little bit, I was thinking of this question coming up. And what I am seeing are two totally different sides right now. With all of this stuff going on with election and the market changing and all this stuff, I've seen some people way on the left-hand corner and then some way on the right-hand corner.
Yes.
Meaning people are looking at what's going on with the voting and all this stuff right now. And so they're very stressed about what's going to happen. And I'll give you two quick examples. One is on an extreme. One of these people I met think it's totally extreme. The market's going to crash and we're no longer even going to have money. So I see the total extreme on this side. But then I'm seeing, the people on the other side that are really looking at, they've seen this fluctuation in the market before. They know that it goes up and downs, that this happens, as the years have gone by. So they're ready for it, but they're just looking at other ways how they can handle the risk and things like that. So some people are really calm about it and ready for the changes, and some people are not. So I have a wide range.
That makes sense. That's the craziness behind finances. And this is another one and I love this topic, and I'm glad you proposed this for us, is because you're not planning for the unexpected. Just to really propel us into the unexpected. The unexpected is frequent within financial planning. Would that be accurate?
Very accurate.
Yeah. And let's talk about this, because this is the first topic that you wanted us to explore, and is freedom and vision. So when you think about this topic of freedom and vision, Kerri, how does this start to integrate into a person's life, if you will, as far as how they see things, and why is freedom and vision such an important part to the unexpected?
So one thing that I've learned also about watching people growing is when they're young, they're being able to see what their future is going to look like. They have these dreams, motivations to get there, all of these plans together. And so they see themselves in the future as just freedom, retiring early, and being happy. And a lot of that stuff can happen when you're younger if you really think about it and look into it, that your future can be what you want it to be if you have it planned out well.
Sure. Kerri, when I think about that, one thing that I realized, and even just thinking back to when I was younger, anytime, and I think I do this also, actually, I know I do this as an older guy here, is that any vision or freedom that I think of, that I have, I don't really think about how bad it's going to turn out. And I think that's, when you look at youth and you think you're living with your parents, all you can do is think, I cannot wait to be an adult and I can just do whatever. I can retire early. I'm going to have a great job, great family, great husband, wife, kids, dog, cat, whatever floats your boat. And it seems like this whole vision is always developing in the background, but nothing in my vision, Kerri, is negative. It never includes the unexpected. Do you feel like that's a pattern of folks?
I do, because I see it in many ways, not just in myself. When I was younger, I thought everything was going to be great. I'd get out there, get a great job, have all these benefits, and life would be wonderful. I'd travel everywhere. When I talk to other people that just got out of school with their college degrees, things like that, they're like all set. I've got everything planned. I'm looking at all these things. And life just looks good for them. There really isn't stress. And I think that also has to do with maybe the way you were brought up too. Because if your parents aren't talking and stressful about money and they're making it look good, then of course you're going to feel life is good. I can do this. Just follow what my parents did and I'll be fine.
That's right. That's right. All right. I want to bring up this topic because I know this is just as important. The unexpected in money. So now you're an adult. You're seeing how life really is. Now you're starting to, and we're bringing this up because this is really starts to be the perspective as far as money is concerned. And you brought up 2 points, and let's talk about the recurring collision course in life of, I don't know, let's just start with the unexpected. Talk to us about that.
And that's really a good thing to look into after we just talked about, because unexpected are things that happen in your life that you're not expecting. And I just want to give some examples. Of course, everybody looks in the future about the good things about getting married. That's going to make a change, but it can be unexpected. Having a child can be a good thing, but unexpected. So they're looking at the little things in the big picture, I believe. Other things that are unexpected are things that you don't want to look into, are like deaths, or like the burning down of your house in these crazy fires we're having in Colorado right now. Death, like I said, in the family, just things like that they're not expecting, that they're not putting on their calendar. I mean, especially, I kind of wandered there for a minute because I'm really thinking about the fire that we're having right now.
Yeah, that's right.
People are losing their homes, and there has been one death in the fire already.
Mm-hmm.
And so these were totally unexpected things that I'm thinking about right now. And these are not planned. These aren't on your schedule of your excitement to retire. And all of a sudden it pops up and things happen.
That's it. And this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where, I know us as older folks can recall our conversation with our parents when we say, because I know as a kid, we would come to our parents like we just knew everything. The parents would say, all right, just wait until you get older. You'll see, you'll find out. And with our current knowledge, we messed around and found out. We really did. We got old and we found out that, this job is actually not enough. Mm-hmm. This income is not enough for my lifestyle and so on and so. I did not expect for this to occur. Like you just said, you don't go into a neighborhood expecting that 3 years later, you're going to, there's going to be a fire in your neighborhood. You don't look at those things. And that's what we're talking about, that collision course with having freedom in your vision. You never thinks about these little moments that are happening on your daily basis that are just going to hit you. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's safe to say, and as we're talking about here, is the more you add to your life, the more opportunities for unexpected events to occur. So going back to, and let's shape this a little bit more, Kerri, when you want to get married, when you want to have kids, your life just became that much more convoluted. It's not that it's not a blessing and it's a beautiful thing, it's a covenant, so on and so forth, and nothing can ever take that away. But you're going to work for every single ounce of what you're putting together. Mm-hmm. Is that, would you say that's factual in your world?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Growing up, you think you're going to find that wonderful person, get married, buy a house, have children. But at that time, you're not realizing that you're also costing your parents $1 million per child. You're not seeing that.
Yes, that's right.
So you're not seeing, just so excited to have that and things. And I know everybody gets married differently, but these weddings all of a sudden turn to thousands and thousands of dollars. You're just seeing the big, beautiful picture of what it's going to be like. And then,
that's it.
The debt comes. The same with education. You're going to get this great major and start a great job right away. But all of a sudden you have that school debt. So all of these things are lining up about everything looking good, but nobody's really thinking about the consequences.
That's right. That's right. And I think another area of consequences that people never really think of is when you're young. One of the beauties of life is youth, and to actually be able to experience that and experience the energy, the imagination that comes along with being young, the ability to be free in thoughts. But also, it seems like the counteract of being young is that you don't really have the mindset to really put pieces together as to what you're thinking. And so when it comes to having conversations with people that are young, Kerri, what type of mindsets are you running into? What are they telling you based on how old they are?
I see it also on both sides, pros and cons on that. But when I look at one that I'm thinking of as someone I spoke to, he's in his almost 30, so that's fairly young, still 20s, 30s. And he had spoken about another advisor talking to him, educating him, doing all these things to try to get him to invest or look in the future. And he right there said, no, I'm too young. I don't need to do any of this. My life's going to be fine. The income will be coming soon. And I was thinking, wow, if he would start thinking about it now, just think of how low the amount of the money he would have to save, every month or year compared to as you get older. And so, you try to educate these people, these kind of people, which are great. I love him. He's a good friend of mine, actually, one that I'm talking about, and I love him.
Sure.
But when something's straight in their head and they're just seeing it totally different than you are, they're not really going to listen.
That's it.
And but then I have talked to other ones that I actually just spoke to somebody that I just met at a store. He asked what I do. I told him, and he was talking about it. He said, yes, I'm 21 and I am really concerned about the future. So I'm ready to start looking into it. But I'll tell you, there aren't very many at all that say that. They're mostly like the first one.
That's very true. That's very true. So then that leads us into the conversation of what is the conversation and perception of young people's time, perception of time? Is it consistent where you hear people say, I don't really need that type of product because I'm too young for it? What's the consistent conversation that people come up with when you talk to people that are younger?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that things just aren't ready yet, that they don't qualify for, that they don't need, things like that. When they look at their IRAs or investments like that you can't pull out till you're 59 and a half, or things like that. It's like, well, I'm not going to be 59 and a half for a long time anyway, so I'm not going to need to pull out of that money out, before then either. So it's things just looking in the long distance of the ages you're going to start needing the money, and it's like, that's forever for me.
Yeah.
And it's just things like that they don't think about, and it boggles my mind to sit there and listen to that. Even though I should say, I don't know why it boggles my mind, because I thought exactly the same.
That's right. There you go.
When I thought about that, I remember when I was in my 20s, I thought exactly the same thing. I worked at Hewlett Packard. I had a 401k. My life was set. And there was no problem. So I understand where they're coming from.
That's exactly right. So that is huge, and leads me to this question. And I want to give some more perspective to those who are watching. How much of a difference is 20 years to someone in their 30s versus someone in their 40s? So because that is a perception. 20 years is a whole perception. And I wanted people to really hone in on this, and go ahead and give us your thought here, Kerri.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing I look at the kids with. I call them kids. Sorry, they're in their 20s. When I look at the ages in the 20s and 30s, I want to sit down and calculate what they want to have when they retire, how much their income is going to be, things like that, so that I can look it up and show them the little amount that they would have to save each month. But then I'll look at people in their 40s and 50s. Then I'll run that same analysis, and I'll put down when they want to retire, how much money, and that money could almost triple, quadruple the amount they have to save to get to that same point. And that's what I want younger people to do, is let's compare, let's look at these differences that 10, 20, especially 30 years is going to make this huge difference on how much money you're going to have to save.
Yes. Kerri, I want to go ahead and bring this to everybody's attention. When you think about, and I'll be the first one to, and I probably need to apologize to all the older folks I made fun of when I was 20 and 30, because I was a guy who said, you're old as all get out, and I was speaking in the terms of, I have all the time in the world, to be honest with you. And I know we're all guilty of that, but to that 30-year-old and having that conversation to that 20-year-old, that means 20 years, I'll be 40. That means I still have plenty of time. That's me assuming that I'm going to be around for quite some time, right? I'm very assumptive. But when I hit 40, one thing that I realize is 20 years, that's 60. That's hitting smack dead into, you know, different choices. If I wanted to choose retirement, if that's the direction I was going in my life, well, that's what 20 years I'm facing retirement. So what I see and what I consider folks is when they have that, when they're faced with that particular time frame, Kerri, in their 40s, it seems like everybody's really panicked at that time. They're really trying to buckle down because you were so free and so loose and so smart.
Yes.
That 401k was going to take care of everything for your
Uh-huh.
life. But then all of a sudden, something happens at 40s. Reality is like, oh my gosh, I really, what happened?
Yeah. And I
Right?
see this all the time. All the
Yeah.
time. It happens and it scares them. I sit down and I'm just blunt. Most people need when they retire 2 to 3 million bucks in
That's
their
right.
pocket if they want to actually retire and be ready for changes in the future. And they look at what they have and what only amount they can start saving now. And yes, it scares the heck out of them. And that's not my job to really do that to people.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't like
right.
to, make heart attacks, right? But but reality has changed in those 20 years. And like you said, the first 20 to 40 sounds pretty good. But when you say then 60, well, that's scary because
That's
you
right.
want to retire at a fairly good age so you can enjoy the rest of it. But if you don't have the money, you're not going to be.
You're not going to be. That's right. This is another area of unexpected that we rarely talk about or deal with. I think, and then again, it's one of those things. It would actually be in my best interest to say we take a lot of this stuff for granted while we're young and health. If we're going to have this perception around our age and say, oh, I got plenty of time, that means we still probably have the same perception as to health, how health is concerned. That means you're
Mhm.
probably eating loosely, you're being free, and you're still thinking about the teenage years when your body can just digest any, you can eat whatever and digest anything and keep flowing like nothing ever happened. Well,
Mhm.
that stuff stops. And that stuff, when it stops, it sticks. And when it sticks, it wreaks havoc, right? It's kind of the trail
Usually.
in which our over 21 seems to have.
Yeah.
So how how important is for us to start thinking about health, and how is it connected to financial planning in your world?
Yeah. The reason I was kind of laughing, smirking when you said that is I was thinking about as I'm growing up, I'm hearing my parents, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents of how much pain they're in, how much this food is not digesting. And it's just funny to say that and listen to it because I hear that growing up and I'm like, how can that bother you? I eat whatever I want. Nothing ever happens. And then I'm starting to see that and I'm like, as you get older now, you start realizing it. And it's like, I can always bring me up a lot of these examples because I've experienced it, but I've always thought, everything was fine. I'm healthy. I can eat whatever I want. But then as you get older, things change. You start gaining weight, you start doing all these things that totally changes what you have just gone through and what you need to change. So
Mhm.
planning for the future when it comes to health, the amount of time you're going to live, all of these things that can change that can cause effects on everything else.
Yeah, and it's just safe to say, even in the financial planning world, you're being qualified for certain products requires your health.
Hmm.
With that,
It really
so
does.
let's say you put together a great plan for somebody, like, hey, look, here's your solutions. You want to get to 2 million. Here's a plan for you. You can do this and you can do that, and people will say, great. Now I'm going to shift the ball into your court. What does that conversation look like sometimes?
That comes up. So I laugh a little bit at the beginning of this meeting, but this is when it gets kind of serious and emotional in a way because
Yeah.
of what I went through with my dad. My dad had a great retirement plan. So his retirement and his income looked great. But when it came down that time a few years ago, it's been about 5 now, he started getting Alzheimer's. And all of a sudden, we needed to find him a place to live so that he can get the help with this. And that was the most difficult thing that we could do because, for one thing, Dad did not have long-term care. He didn't even have a life insurance more than $10,000. He had these things not lined up for me to take care of.
Right.
Which was no problem at all. I will never change everything I did for him. So of course I'm going to help him. But what I saw is that he was just totally unexpecting that to happen. We didn't have the things in line for it. And I think if we would have started seeing these changes in his life, he might have been too old for it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, even when you get to 50s, once you start looking into that life insurance and long-term care, it is extremely expensive, and you either may not qualify for it or afford it.
Yeah.
And so to see that, I really enforce that now to people because I experienced it. You know, I've seen it and heard about it, but never experienced it. And that's
Yes.
why things change. You know, Dad thought he had his whole financial thing together, and I thought he did too. But it was like this.
Mm.
And it was not really thought about, not looked into at all. So.
And I love what you said because, you know, for those that are watching, we are taking an unexpected shift, meaning it did get serious, because that is exactly the point that we want to bring up as well. The unexpected is the seriousness of this, is that you can go along your days into your 40s and just have this blanket feeling of you're okay. And that is the key word is unexpected. You're okay. You're expecting to be okay, but now it's unexpected that you're not. And when you go get qualified for this, and you're trying to finally make a shift in your life. If I'm not mistaken, Kerri, it's almost like a lot of the companies that you work with, just kind of like in the mortgage industry. I think everybody knows they do prefer a paper if they're going to give you a mortgage, if they're going to give you a loan. It's almost kind of the same world in the financial planning world with some of the companies you work with, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they look at things. I'm thinking kind of your life insurance, long-term care. They're looking into the amount of money you have, what your, long-term life's going to look like. And that's how they evaluate what you can or can't get in that way. And so they look at it both that way, money-wise, long-term care-wise, your living, all that kind of stuff. And so what they're telling you at one time is not going to be enough for later. The questions that they ask you are not going to be anything later in 20 years from now.
Right.
And the costs are going to be different, pricing will be different, but they're evaluating right there at that time, like the mortgage things, they're evaluating you now, not evaluating for the future.
That's right. What about this? This is another huge one, and it goes right along with what you're talking about as far as with your father. And I appreciate you being vulnerable enough to really talk about that. I know that's a deep issue, but the family conversation. What is a real financial number for you to stabilize your household? How important is this for us to wrap our minds around?
That is one thing that I've noticed too with a lot of families that I've worked with is sometimes the husband and the wife do not have a connection. They're not working together on what their future needs to look like. And so that causes very, very bad things that can happen in the future. The disconnection is argument, divorce, having your kids see you fight all the time. So when you're disconnected like that, it's not good health-wise, it's not good family-wise, personal-wise, anything. So what I really want to do with my clients is to make sure that both sides, husband, wife, children, whatever's involved, is to be able to look at it all together. Understand where they're going, where they are, and how they can work together to make sure when changes happen, people in those families are aware of it.
Yeah. Kerri, this is a huge button for me. As I get older and as I meet people that are older and run into situations where talking to my parents now, a conversation I didn't have before. As far as, so what did you plan? What's your end of days? How am I supposed to work this out for you? One thing I realized is that conversation. So it's almost like a tiered conversation where that conversation with the older folks, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen until it's too late. Now it can happen, but nonetheless, it feels like it's too late to have that deep of a conversation to be prepared and start to move. And so what I feel like is there's a disconnect between what they have going on and how to prepare for that. But like you said, even it seems like even the household, there's an immaturity that's unexpected when you talk about finances, because everything is good as long as you don't talk about stuff. You know how
Yeah.
that's how marriage is.
Yeah.
So, as long as you don't talk about money, as long as just bills are paid, we're fine, because you realize that you really have not done any kind of homework and growth within your marriage when you have those conversations. And so when you're at this opportunity where you can put together a financial plan, well, now you start to see how people really feel about money and what's been
Mm-hmm.
going on. Um, when you think about putting together, so let's say this couple, Kerri, is making 200K, okay? Combined, one person's making 200K, other is making 50, so there's 250K. And let's say this family household has about 30 to 40K in the bank. Now, in your world, is that a good financial scenario? What's the play behind that number?
Well, in that situation, that can be, if it's sitting in their bank, 30,000 sitting in the bank, whatever, that's a great little side, like in an emergency fund, something like that, that if something happens, you have that cash and you're able to use it. So in some situations, that just looks great. If you're, having your money sitting there, it's like, that's exciting, because a lot of people don't have 5-digit in their savings anyway. So it looks really good at
Yeah,
one time. However, things change.
yeah,
Yeah, what it looks like at 30,000 now, when something happens, that 30,000 is like pennies and it's gone really quick.
that is true. Because that's I'm glad you said that, because what that makes me think is, if you can live a lifestyle of where you're paying 15,000 a month for your bills and you have it right, and you still have an extra 30K going on in the bank. Well, that 30K in the bank is nothing. Let's say that income stops on both levels. Something just happens, that unexpected happens. Well, then now you're depending on 30K at 15K per month of bills and so on and so forth to live, because that's the lifestyle that you've adjusted to and you can afford. That 30K can be gone in 2 months. I think that's how catastrophic and how easy money can be taken away from you, or something can really change your circumstances very quick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I know we talked a lot about all the ins and outs of unexpected. I know people that are watching are patiently waiting for solutions. So talk to us about a couple of solutions that you can take people through to start making shifts towards this if they're starting to get the memo as far as the unexpected.
Yeah, so right now, kind of like what we went through at the very beginning when we were talking about all the good things, positive things, all these things can come back once we start looking at these things again. And just going through creating financial plan and review regularly. What I recommend people to do that is start early, even if they're not married, start putting your financial plan together. When you get married, do it routinely. Get your financial plan put together and review it so that you kind of see where you're going and other um, possibilities that could or could not happen when you're looking at it. Think about your family in the future. You don't know what's going to happen. Like my example, again, you don't know what's going to happen in the future that family, the family's going to have to take care of. And one example on there, time to act on there, is when I work with my clients and I talk to them about their beneficiaries, I get together with their beneficiaries, whether they're children or however the relationship is, and I work with the beneficiaries so we can all work together to show them where their parents are, what they have, and how you can help them in the future. And that has worked great.
Sure.
The other ones, like the emergency fund, we brought that up. with the 30,000, that's a great emergency fund that we have, but we want to make sure that that's used appropriately. So if
Yes.
something does happen in the future, you have that money. One example that I think about is I have a friend that her mother just had back surgery at the age 80, and she had about that amount in her account for that. But because of all of this extra stuff she had to do that she didn't realize with
Yeah.
getting people to help her with her house, help her with her yard, help her do all these things now,
Oh, yeah,
that
that's right.
that money can go away pretty fast. So you always have to have that emergency fund and something to help looking into the future for those unexpected things that are going to happen. And then that fits right into the long-term care. Again, that example I gave, we want to have people ready for the future, wanting the best result, but thinking about the worst result that could happen. Have your life looked at really well, but be expecting something, expect the unexpected.
That's it. Okay. All right. So now we have that. Kerri, what do you, and of course, thank you for going over this information and being willing to bring it up. What do you want people to do now that you gave them the solution? What's their next step?
So what I look at right now is I want my people that I know or whoever to enjoy putting together their plan, looking in the future, enjoy what they're looking into, expect the greatest out of life. I mean, I really want people to be excited about it, but then I also want to go on focus on possibilities. So have, everything ready for your future, but look at those possibilities that could happen could happen, and it could be positive or negative. Just keep in mind those things. Look at it often as possible. But one thing is, you also want to have somebody to help you with that. The family might have conflict or misunderstanding or agreements, but have some kind of third party that doesn't have the feelings involved in that. So with either me or with someone else that you feel comfortable with, we can look at what you have, where you're going, and how I can help you through that. And some things I like to use when I talk to people is I'm with my clients, and hopefully other financial advisors are with their clients until whoever dies first. That means we're taking care of each other all the way to the end. And I think that's a great path to go by that I really want to help people with.
That's amazing. And thank you, Kerri, for your authenticity in this, in the field of expertise that you're in. That's one thing that I know there's a lot in your industry that follow the same code of ethics that you do, and we're lucky to have you here at Executive Talk to be an example of that. And the conversations that you're bringing to light for the audience is amazing, and I appreciate you every single time. I look forward to having more conversations with you.
All right, thank you very much. You have a wonderful rest of the day.
All right, Kerri, same with you. And for those that are watching, and I want to say thank you for taking your time out to listen to Executive Talk, and most importantly, listen to Kerri and what she had to say on this topic. One of the things I pull out of this and a lot of our conversations, because her and I, we actually talk about freedom a lot. In order to enjoy freedom, the thing is, I feel like in our lifetimes, we associate freedom with fun. Well, there's a cost to have that fun and that freedom. And the cost is making sure that we're paying attention to what we need to do. So it could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be husband and wife, it can be a young person, your 30s. Don't wait to get old to get responsible. Start thinking about these things now, because the unexpected is waiting to happen. It's not if it's going to happen, it will happen. It's just how prepared are you for it to happen. And depending on your lifestyle, those unexpected could be major or it can be minimal, but nonetheless, the unexpected is coming your way. And that seems to be a lot of what the point is with Kerri and what she's trying to get across to us, is that when it comes to financial planning, when it comes to digging deep, yeah, you're going to take some risks today. You're going to take some risks today in your 35s, and that's $45 a month that you may not have. But guess what will happen in the future when the unexpected does happen is because you make the right choice today. And so we may have to sacrifice a little fun in order to take care of business, to make sure that we can have what we need to have when the unexpected happens and to have that lifestyle that we want to do. And that's one thing I love about Kerri and the way that she works with folks, is that She is concerned about your fun, but she's also concerned about your well-being and making sure everything is going the direction that you're looking to go. And so please take that away from today's show. I want to thank you again for being here, but Kerri and I, we actually have to get back to work. So we'll see you next time.